So I want to talk for a minute about conservative underwriting. We hear this word, oh, hey, this is a conservative investment. This is an investment that is safe and you can trust it. And this is kind of a common thing that people say when they're doing real estate deals. And honestly, as a passive investor and also as an operator, I get a lot of deals sent to me. And a lot of these, I look at the assumptions, I look at the way they're projecting growth going forwards, and I can say a lot of times they're not really conservative. What I mean, for example, of this is the biggest thing that's typically not conservative is that I'll see a deal that comes across these days, in 2021, where the the growth assumptions are very, very high. So it's basically saying that this particular deal, we're seeing rent growth in this market of 4% or 5%. It's been that way historically. We expect it to be that way for the next 5 years. And so because of that, you see a return figure in here of somewhere between 18 and 22% on a value add multifamily real estate deal. To me, it's really interesting with numbers. There was actually I wish I had a copy of this book with me, but in college, I took a class on statistics, and there was one of the required reading books was called How to Lie with Statistics. And statistics, you can kind of make them say whatever you want. So for this deal, for example, that's a 20+% average annual return because they're using the historic rent growth, assuming that will go forward for the next 5 years. And you hear that little phrase of past performance does not indicate future performance, right? But a lot of times we do that when projecting these deals. And so in this book, How to Lie with Statistics, you can see how you can have a 22% return by making certain little assumptions that growth is going to be higher as far as rents or expenses are going to be lower. Or that same deal could be at a 12 or 13% average annual return when you include all of these, more modest assumptions. Maybe, for example, the Dallas area has grown, 4 to 5% per year in rent growth pretty consistently the last 5 to 10 years. So a lot of people will say, well, that's what's going to happen in the future. And I really hope it happens in the future. It really could happen. Texas is getting a lot of growth, but maybe a better figure for that is in the neighborhood of 2 to 3% rent growth instead of 4 or 5%. So what it does when you do that, it's a lever that makes your returns be much lower. So when you're looking at your deals, it's really important. You really have two sides of it, right? You have the income and you have the expenses. And when you're projecting, a lot of folks will look ahead and say, let's look at the best rosy case scenario and project that. And you get these numbers that are just amazing. But personally, as an investor, I would rather invest in a 12 or 13 or 14% return that I feel is really solid. That's kind of like a baseline. It's an under promise and over deliver type of thing than to have somebody who's at 18 or 20 or 22% and just feel like, it may not be able to achieve that unless everything has to go right to get there. So I'd love to know what you think about conservative underwriting. To me, it's a passion of mine to be really presenting deals in ways that are conservative. It's also really important, I think, for sponsors and people in general to say, hey, let's make sure that we have things in place so if they don't go exactly according to our plan, then we're still going to perform fine. And in a deal, whether you've had a rental house or you've had a 100 or 200 unit apartment, some things are going to go better than expected, and also some things are not going to go as well as expected. These things it's both an art and a science, and so a lot of people don't really see that side of it. So anyway, what are your thoughts on conservative underwriting? I'd love to see maybe some things that you've seen in deals that you've done or deals that you've put together or deals that you've invested in that have been conservative, or maybe areas where you've seen things not be so conservative. So put your comments below. I'd love to hear from you.